Truth Bombers Podcast.
Truth Bombers Podcast.
The group chat turned podcast with your hosts, Russ, Lockie, and BJ.
All right, boys. Happy Thursday night. Episode 21.
Ooh, crisp.
How's sobriety?
Boring.
How long are you in now?
2 weeks.
How you feeling?
Bored.
Yeah.
I'm alright.
Physically feel alright?
Yeah, pretty chipper.
Do you feel like you're just not as hungover? Like ever?
But the thing about me was I never got hungover. That's why I had such bad drinking habits. Because I could drink heaps and not be
If you
hungover.
never stopped
There was no
drinking.
consequences of my drinking. That was the issue.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. No, I'm feeling good.
Yeah, nice. And in all the years to like probably want to have a drink, this would probably go pretty close.
Sunday night was a mission.
It's tough. The first challenge.
Yeah.
All right, it's Thursday night, so we're gonna chat through the teams. We've had some pretty big statements made on the social media as well, Locke, which you'll walk us through. I believe also we have a question of minimal warning, so we'll get to that as well. First thoughts. Up against the arch rival Hawthorn this week. We've just listened to AFL Tonight or 360 Extra, whatever it was, and Ben Rutten's press conference in which he's come out this morning and said that he wants to see some aggression and flair. Personally, I just love to see a forward handball and potentially hit a target inside 50. Obviously, like the media is starting to circle around the hanger pretty hard. I guess in many ways we're part of that like pitchfork and fire that's coming up. Yeah. So, but to be fair, like that's what happens when you play the way that we play. It's fucking gross to watch. It's hard to support. And I guess worse when you remember that's literally what you're paying for. We had a joke last week about, coming here on Saturday to watch the game, and I think you said, yeah, I'm coming here. I'm going all the way in to watch us the way we've been playing, and that's kind of the unfortunate reality of extended periods of dishing up what you dish up. I mean, that's what we saw at crowds at the MCG for the Melbourne Football Club for basically the last sort of 6 or 7 years. Book your trips up to Mount Buller and stuff come September because you're not going to play finals. Like, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Right? First thoughts, Locke.
On the team?
On
the
the
game?
Hawks, playing the Hawks. Are we a chance? Can we come out, turn it around? Is this the week that we make a statement that, yeah, we've had a shit start, but we're galvanising, or is this going to be more of the same?
Yeah, look, I think against Hawthorn we're definitely a chance. Like, I don't think they're a top 8 side, although they are playing reasonable football. I think after last week's performance, sort of similar to after the Freo game, there should be a big response. We just talked about like how much of a grilling potentially a lot of Essendon staff and players are getting from externally, like the media. So there should be a massive response, and you'd like to think that, all right, well, we've been playing crap football, but it only takes that one game to turn things around, and sometimes just need to change something up, and if it clicks, sweet, we might be on a roll.
I am not optimistic, and I normally am, which just could be a good thing.
Yeah.
What's going to be shitty about this game that I'm going to watch this week is I think I'm going to have to be 70 points up before I feel safe. Like, we could go into a half-time being 60 points up, 65 points up, and I'm going to be like, there's still a chance. There's still a chance. After what happened last year, what's happened in previous seasons and our form, it's going to be a hard watch because I'm not going to be feeling confident until that siren sounds here for a head.
I'm normally the optimistic one on the panel. But
that's not nice.
Oh, thank you, Siri. But knowing how we typically like to start games and seeing how Hawthorn have typically started games the last couple of weeks. They come out swinging for the fences super hard. And I'm, again, like we talked about against the Bulldogs, the potential of getting blown out in the first quarter. We realistically could be 6 or 7 goals down at quarter time, and I don't see us coming back from. We are not the team that can claw back a 40-point deficit.
With this, not with the team this year, no.
Yeah. So I hope to be proved wrong. I'd love to see some sort of Matthew Lloyd-esque run through the centre, take out Brad Sewell. I think maybe a great 18-on-18 brawl is probably something that this team needs just to
I was
fire up a
I was
little
going to
bit.
bring up, I think my biggest hope this week is a big brawl.
Yeah, led by Big Drapes,
Yeah.
and then have Draper just be like, "What? You know, take out someone that's half his size, like he likes to do
He
on
must be
on
fired up.
Waitman."
He just got told that his job's at risk. They're offering 4 times of his paycheck to a guy in fucking St Kilda.
Rowan Marshall,
Like-
apparently there is some chatter around Dylan Shiel, and what that might mean.
It's who do you think's legitimately looking for him? Like what team out there needs him?
No idea.
Kangaroos.
That's right.
Yeah, I can see him go to LaRue's.
Reckon?
They pay overs for him too.
Well, they pay overs.
Well, they can
would
just
take
pay him out. They can have him, as far as I'm concerned, if he puts up another year like he's put up this year or last year.
Well, you look at who, like, especially with Nick Martin getting his new deal this year.
Nick Martin, congratulations,
who-
2-year extension.
Who would you rather at the moment, Nick Martin or Shiel?
I think they're very different players, but I think Martin's had more of an impact in his first 4 games of AFL footy than Shields had in his last 25.
Yeah.
I think what we lose again, unfortunately, is just more experience out the door. So yeah, not super optimistic, but who knows? And that's the thing about footy, you know.
Yeah.
If like on the other side of the coin, if we come out and kick 3 straight in the first quarter, that potentially gets up us and about a little bit more. Nick Hines, let's get into the team. Nick Hines obviously been named. He's come up. He apparently was scintillating in the VFL. And one of the things that they did say as a comment was that his run and carry, like he was back to trying to break lines and run through. So
Disposal, I watched most of that game. Yes, he was breaking lines and, you know, the playmaker, but that finesse and the decision making and the finish still wasn't quite there.
Break lines, handball to Martin, let him be the polish and finesse. And Nick Bryan gets his call up for his second game of AFL footy.
Is Flip fit? Do you reckon it was a toss between Flip and Bryan? And I know you said you were hoping Flip was going to be back this week.
I think as a mature ruckman, given that Draper's had no help the last 2 weeks, I would have thought Phillips would have been straight back in the side. I thought he'd been playing well. Again, if we were coming up against a Grundy or another team that's got quite that established ruck ball winner kind of player that probably Phillips would have gone in. I can't even tell you who rucks the Hawks.
So they just had a few injuries there.
Because McAvoy's out still, right?
Yep, McAvoy's out. The player they did have rucking popped his shoulder out 2 weeks ago.
And Flanders. Ned,
not
Ned,
too
whatever
sure.
his name is. He's like the tallest bloke
But
ever
they're
on a Hawthorn
very,
list.
very low on stocks right now.
So that might just be the opportunity for Nick Bryan to come in. He's apparently been tearing it up in the VFL as well.
Yeah. All reports is if he was at a different list, most lists, he'd be easily getting that sort of second ruck role and would be starting.
Yeah. And Dylan Shiel back in
Full-time.
full time. So that's probably one of the things I'm most disappointed about. There was an opportunity there to make a statement, and Truck to even talked about selection being a tool to reward good behaviour and behaviours that we want to see. That semi-soft omission is bullshit. It's a nothing call. Yeah. So the other interesting one is Aaron Francis has been named as an emergency. So we haven't seen or heard much of him for a little while. He's come back. Phillips, I think, is fit. There was a few clips of him in the background at full training sessions today. Again, no tipper. We know Dev Smith's hurt himself, so he's out for a couple of weeks as well. So again, still those core senior players that aren't going to get in, but and Stewart is still. He's been 2 weeks away for the last 4 weeks now. So high performance team.
I think he's done.
You think?
Yeah, I don't know if he's come back.
Good to see Reed, I think, keep
his spot. Yeah.
I think
he did enough last
I didn't
week.
think he did anything terrible. I mean, he got smashed, but like for second or third game.
We talked about how much that back six was under fire under siege last week, and none of the poor decisions in the back line were really their fault. It was just come off continuous pressure.
So let's get through it. Our full back line, Mason Redmond, Jake Kelly, and Jaden Laverde, who I think, if nothing else, I feel is going to be the guy that's going to end up stepping up and being that general of the back line.
Laverde?
Yeah. You take Heppel out of there. He's essentially like probably the most experienced bloke in that back six. And definitely his performance has been consistent, and he feels like he does lead. Like he is that kind of guy to get fired up, start directing, but probably just needs to almost own that a little bit more and almost take that on as a responsibility.
I agree with you. He could be that one to step up. He's definitely not the one of the most experienced out there when he's only been in the backline role for a year and a half. You know, got Jake Kelly spent his whole career down there, and Jake Kelly.
No, at Laverde.
Oh yeah. Well, when was he back?
He's played back the last 2 years. No, but I mean he's been at Essendon the longest.
Yeah. I was sort of talking to someone today about it. I was like, geez, Laverde's such a pivotal role in that back line. He's only been there not even two seasons.
Yeah.
A season and a half. We really got lucky that he actually gravitated towards that position, because some moments it takes 3-4 years for a guy to understand it.
Agree. Disagree.
Agreed.
Good. Half back line, Nick Hines, who we just talked about coming back in, Jordan Ridley, Dyson Heppel.
I'd be interested to see where Nick Hines actually plays. Him or Redmond, I feel like could push up the ground a little bit, whether it's more of a wing role or even a little half forward role. I'd be interested.
I almost think you put Heppel back, let him play deeper, and bring Redmond up and have Redmond and Hind as your half backs.
I know Redmond's made a few kicking errors in the last few weeks, but he is a really good kick, and he's a very penetrating kick.
Yeah, so that's the key. That is the key.
So he is the kind of guy that could kick it from our back 50 right up past the wing, or if he's got the ball on the wing, can kick it deep into our forward 50.
Yeah.
And we've obviously seen him bomb goals from about 60 out. So I would like to see him actually play a little bit more of an attacking role, or Hind. And Hind played forward for St Kilda. He's sort of been pushed sometimes up towards a wing or forward for us, in moments of games. And he has maybe been that link player kicking into the forward 50. So I'd like to see one of those two players really play that role.
Like you're saying, with Hind in the VFL, if we're talking about one or the other, and Redmond does have a bit more polish, he's probably the one you want.
The penetrating kick, it's so important, because last week we just didn't have that. The disposal efficiency was not there. We weren't hitting targets, and when we were, they were popping them up high, and that penetrating kick, something we were really missing.
Yeah. Dylan Shiel, named back on the ground after his pretend drop an omission last week as a sub. Apparently he did it well enough in his half of backward handballs to get a solid selection back on the park.
Negative meters gained.
Darcy Parish, whose handball ratio is almost 3-1 at the moment, and Tom Cutler has been named back on the wing. Thoughts about what you'd expect?
Pretty standard what you expect there.
I'm so confused with Shiel. How can you say we are dropping him, but you played him, and then you don't drop him the next week?
Same thing happened with Dev Smith, and that's what I was so angry about a few weeks ago.
Smith did go back to the VFL though.
Not up to the first one. The first one was that's why I was so irate about it, because he dropped him and then they played him in the week after. Then he got dropped again.
Medisar played against Freo, then got dropped officially.
Okay. Half forward, Matt Guelphy, who is leading the charge with Smothers and Intent. Alec Waterman, your boy, who I didn't really think we'd see much of this year. Obviously, injuries come into effect, but this is probably the most consecutive games he's played in the red and black since he's been down.
He started the season last season playing the first 6 or 7 games.
Did he?
Yeah, he had a string of games last year.
And it wasn't until the midway through the season before they sort of started rotating people out.
I thought he's been playing well. Was pretty quiet last week against the Dogs.
I think, like we said on Sunday, he's the type of player that needs good sort of forward 50. He needs the ball to be put at him. He's not one that's going to go hunting for it in the forward line. So if you don't have that sort of game style, you can't go goalless too many times. So
yeah, he's another one that needs to. You need to kick your 1 or 2 a week to stay. And Nick Martin, who we're loving, and like we said, he's just been given a 2-year deal. Talking about deals, McGrath, whose name I do not see. Oh, yes, I do. He's following. Has pushed contract talks to the end of the season. This is usually not a great sign, especially from someone who we've all sat down and identified as could potentially be the captain of this club.
You know what?
Do you think this is something that he wants to have an opportunity to say, I'm going to help us get out of this, and therefore that contract is worth more? Or is this, I don't know if what we're doing is something that I want to be a part of?
I think either way, you can't be a future captain if you're putting contract negotiations off. That's just my personal opinion. If you want to be the future captain of a club, you can't sit there and go, I'm going to see my options right at the end of the year.
To be fair, he's contracted to the end of the year. So his contract now is not in doubt.
But to tell the club, no, I'm not going to talk to you at the end of the year because I want to explore options.
Is that what he said? He wants to explore options.
What else would it possibly mean if you're not signing a contract now?
Well, Zach Merritt didn't sign straight away.
But I don't see him being as a future captain.
Zach Merritt?
Zach Merritt, no.
At all?
I don't see him being the captain of the football club, no. And he legitimately wanted to leave, and everyone knew that. There was some pretty close sources were saying if the direction of the footy club didn't change, I'm not going to sit around and wait for you guys to do what happened this year.
Well, I think you said it might have been the episode that we recorded on mute, but I think you said this time last year we were sitting with Merritt, Stringer. Was last week? Yeah, and someone else, Parrish, all out of contract. Imagine if we'd had this season last year, what that might have meant for our list. And that's true. But yeah, Nick Martin on the forward flank where I think he does his best work. And then our full forward line, Nick Bryan. So we're playing two tools up there with Peter Wright, Archie Perkins again. Like Martin, Guelphy and Perko will all kind of run around and interchange, work through the centre a little bit there too for Perko, who's been much better the last couple of weeks. Sam Draper, Zach Merritt, and Andrew McGrath following. And our bench, as we said, Zach Reed still in, Jai Caldwell, Ben Hobbs, Sam Durham. So again, pretty young. Emergencies, BZTs, obviously, he continues to make way for Zach Reed. Braden Ham gets elevated back to emergency status. Kane Baldwin, who's been omitted, which I think is probably fair enough. And Aaron Francis. Out of those four boys, who do you think gets the Medi-sub role?
I want to see Franga get it, to be honest. I want to see him back in.
I think it'll be Ham.
I think with Francis, he can play back or forward.
He can play back, he can play forward, he can play wing. Yeah. You know, we've seen through the VFL run through teams, like from coast to coast. I don't mind him being the emergency sub.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, like we said, no tipper.
Just talking about tipper, I'm just looking at the Dreamtime Guernsey release. I don't know if they've photoshopped him into this jumper this year.
He's looking
good. He's looking good.
So, interestingly enough, just on some of the injury list for us, Hurley is back to an indefinite, right? So, I think we've said at the start of the year we thought we'd seen the last of Mick Hurley. It looked like he was coming back and then was incredibly well handled by our high performance team, obviously, in his return. Patrick Voss is out still with a foot. Jake Hamstringer is 3 to 4 weeks away. Should I like that one?
I do. You practice that one a week, haven't you?
I thought about it during the week. I was like, I can't believe we haven't been using this. Carl Langford's been 2 to 4 weeks away now for 2 to 4 weeks. Devon Smith, 2 to 4 weeks with a knee. That generally, to me, means like...
Was the knee the big surgery he had? Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's related to the PCL.
Yeah.
And they just reckon there's a lot of swelling. So they've given him a couple of weeks to try to alleviate some of that.
There you go. Will Snelling still 2 to 3 weeks away. James Stewart apparently only 1 to 2 weeks away. Phillips was a test. There you go. I thought he was fit, but he's a test. Wanganeen test. Harrison Jones test. Nick Cox test, but he's been admitted.
Jeez, Jones.
I think Jones was due.
Three injuries since his first injury. Can't even make it through a VFL game. Like, what the fuck's the club doing?
I think we knew as well Cox was due for a break, regardless of being injured or not.
Every single podcast I listened to, every single piece of media just picked up on the fact of exactly what we were saying too. Just looking at him, he looked confused, spent,
just got no confidence.
Absolutely shot of confidence.
Yeah.
Any surprises? Any thoughts? Any mistakes?
I like the bringing Hines back. Like proved himself at VFL. I think he adds something to our back line that we lack. Like we talked about that Adelaide game. Yeah, like we were poor defensively, but Redmond and Hines did break lines. They did sort of run behind the man and get the ball and actually look damaging. We haven't had that all year apart from that game. So I like that inclusion. Nick Bryan, a few weeks ago, I thought he would come in. It's good that he gets a chance. I think when you're playing well at VFL level, like you've got to reward the player eventually. If you don't have a strong side, which we clearly don't, you've got to reward VFL form. See what he can do. Like I like the idea of Peter Wright just staying deep in our forward 50,
Yep.
being a target option, forward 50 option. And then Brian or Draper can either go forward when they're resting. They can obviously chop out each other in the ruck, or if you need to throw one behind the ball, if we are getting mauled out of the centre, then like you can do that.
And Drape's actually been playing that role decently well.
He stepped up the last couple.
Yeah,
The
he
last
started
couple of
to
weeks,
get
he's
the
gotten
goals.
around the ground a lot better. Yeah.
Well, Saturday night, as part of a double header, out of left field, why are we having double headers on Friday nights? It is the most ridiculous notion. I don't know what the AFL is doing. There is nothing better than Thursday night footy. It makes it feel like the weekend started a little bit earlier. You get to watch
I don't
more
like my
footy.
team playing Thursday night footy though.
No, that's blockbuster games, mate. You don't have to worry about that. Just keep your Sunday afternoons free.
We've got 2 Friday games. One's versus
Three.
West Coast. Three
in a row. Three in a row. There was
3 in a row.
outroar between
Really?
anyone that wasn't an Essendon supporter.
Well, there should be. Like, why would we
Where
be
what was
rewarded
on the main
with?
stage
Yeah.
One of them's our 150th, which is
against Carlton.
that's understandable. You can give a blockbuster game for a club of our stature. Every other game, no.
The West Coast one will be such a stinker. Did you see their team this week? They've got 22 available players
The most annoying
Again,
thing is...
out of their entire list,
and no coach.
and their coach has even.
Didn't they all get COVID already?
No.
No. But that's not just COVID. It's injuries too.
No, yeah.
The problem is we don't play them till the middle of June. And so they've got 6 weeks to get their shit together, including a bye, before we actually get a crack at them.
Same with North Melbourne.
And the same with North. And like Freo are out 6 players this week.
Oh, I saw that. How could they not? Lose all their players the week.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
It always happens. Or we end up... And Dustin Martin's got 4 weeks to get himself super fit before dream time. Fucking
That's
great.
what I'm worried about. I'm big on Dusty coming back against the Bombers, I reckon.
So, yeah, that's the story.
Are we
there.
worried that the Hawks have zero confidence in us as a football team? They've decided to rest.
Manage.
not omit. They've managed and rest, I think, 4 or 5 players. Like it's
I mean, good. There's an opportunity there, right?
how much of a basket case have we become?
But we hope they're taking us lightly.
Yeah.
And we play well.
Yeah.
And
That's what. Hopefully they come into this game
No
thinking
respect.
like it's just going to happen, which like honestly we do deserve. But
I think like we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, just realising that it's starting to really just hit home more and more of like we're genuine bottom 4 side when we came in with so many hopes for this season.
the question, I think I said top 5 with a percentage of 125. Do you think we're getting close? Like, where do you think we're going directionally? Do you think we're getting closer to having that game where we rectify the last few weeks and we say this is a statement game, or are we getting closer to just completely falling off the cliff and now we're not even competitive?
I'm for more falling off the cliff than getting it together. Like we've had those moments where against Fremantle we had to regroup and we still didn't win, and then it was like, all right, regroup again. Like how many regroups can you have? We seem like after last week the game plan seems even worse, like worse and worse.
I'm going to give us 3 weeks. And you just talked about the injury list. Fingers crossed, 3 weeks gets us Snelling back, Jones back. Langford would be like hit or miss then.
Jeez, I miss Langford.
Stringer would be sort of hit or miss then. Get us to that point where it's like, all right, here's your forward line. What can you actually do?
I think that's, we kind of joked there about Fremantle and the West Coast, but Fremantle are out 6 of their starting 22. And there's a lot of talk about, like, that's got to be capitulation point. But so are we. Like, we've been out 6 of our top 22 since round 1, right? So, I guess if you're expecting teams to fall off the list when you start to lose above 6 or above players of your starting 22, then it's not that,
Well, let's take a look at our forward line right now. Out of those guys, Peter Wright would be the only one last year who kicked more than 25 goals. Correct?
Yep.
100% without even
Yep.
needing to look.
And so
Kicking on 15 even.
last season, there was Hooker, there was Tipperary, there was Jones.
Langford.
So Langford probably kicked 20 odd, at least a goal a game.
26, I think.
Yeah. So you've got
Got
there like 4 players out of our forward line.
Stringer.
Stringer, that makes 5. He kicked about 40. So there's 5 players that you would actually be a little bit worried about, they could like kick 3 or 4. And right now, if you were able to shut out Wright, or even if Wright has a good game, to be honest.
Yeah, he could kick 7, we still only kick 9 for the game.
Yeah, like if you shut out Peter Wright or he doesn't kick, a huge bag, it's like, how are we going to beat teams?
Well, David,
where are the goals going to come?
How many goals do you think realistically we need to kick against Hawthorn to win the game? 13, 14?
I reckon 13 or 14
100 points.
Wins you more games than it loses.
So that's what? Wright kicking 4, hopefully Golfy kicks 2, Waterman kicks his 2, maybe Martin pops up, kicks 1 or 2,
Archie.
And then you're hoping for Perko to kick 1 or 2.
Arch gets his.
So if everyone kicks 2 and Wright kicks 5.
Yeah. The problem is, like, we don't have a strong forward line, so there's only 1 or 2 players you could conceive kicking multiple goals, and our midfielders don't kick goals.
Yeah.
So a lot of midfielders have a Bond, a Dangerfield, a Fife that are more than a goal a game. If Stringer's not there for us, we have none. Merritt kicks 3 goals a season. McGrath kicks 1 a season.
And he's already kicked it this
Parrish
season.
maybe kicks 10. It's maybe like half a goal a game average. So it's just like so left to so few to carry the load.
Yeah.
Bring up a good point with like how many goals we were scoring last year. And I remember talking about David King doing an analysis of his preseason, and he said something like that sort of sticks out now when in hindsight, where our attacking and fast-paced ball movement we had last year, it was exciting to watch and put a lot of band-aids over, not having enough polish in the back line and enough polish in the midfield.
We were conceding big scores, but because we were scoring big scores.
Yeah, but we scored big scores. And you're right, losing 30 points here, 20 points there, maybe a few blowouts, yes. But yeah, we're in the Brisbane game. We win the Collingwood game. And all of a sudden, 3 and 7 doesn't look too bad. You see in the mix at least.
Isn't that's shit? I mean, we could be potentially 3 and 7 after the next few. But Lockie thinks this is our big chance. You think Hawthorn are in poorer form than Richmond.
I think Richmond are a better team than Hawks.
I'd much rather come up against Hawthorn. Yeah.
I think Port Adelaide at home in a few weeks, they'll be a tough team to beat.
Yeah.
Sydney.
Sydney and Sydney. We always play like good close games against them, but we get there without getting over the line.
Something always.
I would say this is the game out of the next 4, including this one. That's our biggest chance.
Okay. Shall we move on?
Yep.
WVFL, we'll go to a happy note. The girls, who are officially top of the table, Russ.
Officially?
Top of the table. They had another big win against the Bulldogs, who it's fair to say improved because we beat them 98-0 or something in round 1, and we only beat them 49-2.
I am going to go to my operations manager tomorrow and call him after the spray I got from him on Monday, being a Bulldog supporter.
They're just the worst. And then even this way, fucking Bond's been managed and Wallace is out. Anyway, so the VFL girls are crushing it. They're obviously starting to make their plans ahead for next year. This year, Stephanie Kane's been signed, who comes across from Collingwood as like a mid-sized forward. Interesting, Daisy Pearce in the VFL has put out a call to the AFL to please make a decision when the season's going to start so we can start having to tell our workplaces we're going to need these times off and all that other shit that you...
Start pre-season.
Yeah, start pre-season next week while they're still playing, right?
That's a good point. They don't even have a start date. That's pretty poor.
Yeah. So that obviously will all come to a head in the next couple of weeks, but where are we? It's already first week of May is basically down. So if they're starting in August, you would have to think the pre-season would be at least June, right? What are we giving them? How many games left in the... AFLW and the VFL comp.
VFLW is, I think there's 4 more weeks left.
So that takes us, say,
before
start
the
of June.
finals.
That's the start of June, and then finals.
Yeah.
Which, if we're top of the table, we're going to play all the way through, presumably.
Yeah.
So say they finish mid-June.
We live streaming from the ground for the final.
I'd go down.
Yeah, that's right.
Only Silverware would see all this century.
Try and get... Yeah.
Could be the only game we see us win.
Yeah.
Don't put the Moz on them, boys. But yeah, that's an interesting point.
That incident, we'd get there undefeated and then go down and stinker in the final.
But yeah, if they go all the way through, so say that's the middle of June, they basically that's their VFL season essentially becomes their preseason to AFL. You're going to take in some very tired, very sore bodies into
a lot of the
AFLW.
AFLW girls aren't playing many VFL games though.
From our list.
No, in general.
Yeah, in general, but I'm talking about us specifically.
Yeah, but they don't care about us.
Yeah, I know.
Well, they don't care. They don't care about the grand AFLW girls.
Well, I guess it's going to be the same for quite a lot of teams in the competition because next year marks, I think, Port Adelaide get their license.
Everyone does.
Yeah, all the rest of the teams that are coming out.
Anyone that doesn't have one now will get one. Gets one.
Lovely. Question with minimal warning.
I want you to look through our name squad and name the players who have improved from last season. Can't be a first year player.
Can't be first year.
No.
Perko
definitely has. Durham definitely stepped up, but he only played a handful of games.
I'll tell you players who have gone downhill. Can we?
No. I just want the positives for a second.
Guelphy, I think, has stepped up this year as well.
He's got, like we keep saying, he's probably there, number one, most improved.
And I'm on the fence to say Draper as well, potentially too. His last few weeks have impressed me. Whether or not he holds on to it for the next few.
I'd put Peter Wright as stepping up a little bit more. I think that comes from being able to play a pure forward role versus last year being a utility.
Yep.
So maybe he is playing sort of similar to last year, just getting more of an option now. But for me, if you had to pick one, you can't go past Guelphy.
As the most improved.
Yeah.
Yep, I'd agree with that. So few names.
Yeah.
And those names were players who were either in their second season or were fringe players.
Let me ask you this, as a question with minimal notice. Who's winning out Crichton right now? Guelph? Do you think?
I think Kelly's been doing a great job, to be honest.
Silent Assassin, down
Down
back.
back. Nick Martin could be right
Well,
up
you know
there.
what's a good shout? Hey, how was Nick Martin? He obviously got full points game one.
Yeah.
He's
I reckon
consistently getting...
last week he was great. He had 20-odd disposals.
Consistently getting over 20.
Yep.
Getting a few goals here and there. He's finesse.
That's something we should try and get a media pass to. Go to the Crichton.
Yeah.
Much you can.
So they don't sting us for $350 for
Bullshit.
Yeah. If I was to name our top 5 Crichton right now, and that ties into actual players that have improved, I'd be looking at Nick Martin, Peter Wright. I'd be looking at Guelphy. I definitely think Kelly's had a good season so far.
Durham?
Nick Martin.
I named Martin. Oh. Durham. And then you go, none of those 5 finished in our top 5 last year. And none of them are senior players, apart from Kelly, and you could argue, well, he's not a senior player for us.
Yeah.
So it's like, the arse has fallen out of our team terribly. But obviously injuries play a huge role in that.
That's the other point too, is a lot of those guys, and this is the thing, we're not just 6 players short of our 22, but we're 6 players short of our top 10 almost.
Yeah. Really thought Jai Caldwell would sort of step up a little bit more. And he's very young, we've talked about this.
Yeah, McGrath, 20 games.
McGrath, I thought, would have really sort of stamped his authority this season, especially with Stringer out sort of early. Dylan Shiel were hopeful pre-season, along with Smith, that they would really sort of come good. Heppel sort of fucking going backwards
faster
hard.
Than anyone.
Jordan Ridley, I think, has been sort of thrown under the bus because the back line's under so much pressure, he can't intercept the fan like he's so good at.
Yeah.
Nick Hines gone backwards. Redmond sort of looked a little bit short on confidence.
I think he's got a little bit better from last year, to be honest. I don't think he had the best couple of years, the last few years. I reckon I personally think he's stepped up a little bit this year.
Is that Redmond?
Redmond, yeah.
Laverde's looked knocked about would be the way I'd explain how he's played so far. He copped a few big knocks in a number of games.
He's also someone who's been a really good number 2 defender, taken number 2 forward, and has been thrown into that number 1 defender role, where he has been a little bit out of his depth against guys like Danaher and Hawkins, and so again, it's just you got a guy, someone there. His second year of playing in the back line, and all of a sudden is number 1 defender.
Yeah, I think going into the season, we put a little bit too much high hopes on Caldwell going, top 10, he's coming in, this is his year. But yeah, he's only played 20-ish games of AFL footy. Like you said, what was it last week? You said that Perko's played more games than
Perkins
than
played
Caldwell.
more
Like, imagine if
shit.
we said, our season relies on the midfield on Perko. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
I definitely, would have liked to have seen him take a step, but I'm more looking at, your McGraths,
Your 100-game
Shiels, your
players.
Smith.
Your leaders.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what, if McGrath wants to leave, I'll be pissed. Not that he's leaving, but he's so shit at the moment. We're not getting anything for him.
Number 1 draft pick, has played 100 games, potential future leader of the club.
No one cares if you're a potential leader.
I know,
of our
but
club.
if you
you're not
have
going
leadership...
to get an extra draft pick because he's a potential leader of our club.
No, I agree. I'm optimistic with that. I'm hoping that he's coming for a point where he's saying, like, right now we've got so many other things to fix and talk about and get right that, like, this contract's not going anywhere. We can figure that out once we've gotten through this storm. And maybe it is just the next patch of 4 or 5 games where it's a steady the shit type of scenario. Now let's chat because we've put out some other fires.
I don't understand. If he doesn't sign by the end of the season, though, when it gets into trade period, and he legitimately is shopping, even if it's that back end of the season where we're out of finals and you go start shopping around, I'm sorry, you can't be a future leader of the club and try to leave the club or see what other options are out there. Either you're in or you're not.
Agree? Disagree?
Yeah, great.
Heppel, when he took over the captaincy and everyone was like, he lives and bleeds Essendon. He's never going to leave. He's the future. He wants to be the future captain. He never, in hindsight, we kind of, I think, got wrapped up in that story that he was the man. Like, he's, the classic,
nice guy.
he's a nice Essendon prodigy. And, at the time, was getting massive disposals. He was still shit out with his kicks, but at least he got 40 possessions. So half of them actually hit targets. And yeah, he was always like next captain, but he lived and breathed Essendon. I don't think you can live and breathe Essendon if you're shopping around.
I think in hindsight would be a really good t-shirt.
What?
Nick hindsight.
I like it.
Social media. Been a fair bit of activity on the old IG this week, mate.
Yes, there has. I've been throwing out some questions, and our faithful has been responding.
And some good ones too, some solid ones. And I think those boys will be happy for you to name them.
This is just Willow for all of them.
It's not just Willow for all of them.
Our only watcher on the live stream.
Who will be messaging me in 4 minutes to be like, where's the episode? I'm waiting for it. Thanks, Willow. Shout out to Jared Wilson.
When
we get him on for a guest spot.
We should get him on.
I'll do my best. So one of the questions was, with Stringer out, who can we afford least to get injured?
Laverde.
Laverde for you?
I think Peter Wright.
Peter Wright?
Yeah.
Or Guelphy.
I think Laverde, we're so short in the back line and they get that much pressure. If we lose a solid, lockdown defender, I reckon that opens up a heap. You can't put in Cutler into Laverde's spot. You can't put Zerback Thatcher in there.
No, I think he played all right.
You've had 3 games now, mate. You go.
Yeah, step up. Step up. Stuart,
you're the fourth most experienced player on the park for 4 games.
So a few responses: Essendon Nation, Ryder Guelphy, Dylan JF, Draper, Billy Stew. Don't tempt fate here, please. I like that one.
Question with minimal notice.
Hang on. One at a time. Willow did comment just
Talia
and AJ.
Singo, 94. Parrish for sure. I think Parrish is replaceable. So there's a few responses.
Who's going to get 36 backward handballs if we don't have Parrish on the park?
Merritt can step up.
There's one man who can step up.
You know what should happen with Parrish and Merritt is if you've got them for 30 plus disposals, they can't get past 29 unless their kick count is at least average with their handball count. How many multis do you reckon that fucks all of them? What did you have last week? 11
honestly,
and 24?
The Parrish Merritt combo to get 30 plus generally happens. They're just accumulators. And unfortunately for us, it hasn't been damaging disposals.
Yeah.
I'll think of a good multi for this coming week.
And also Kat thinks Guelphy as well.
Yeah, I saw that.
She just looks at the hair.
Didn't deserve a shout out.
Your thoughts?
About what?
That most...
I opened.
Did you?
Yeah.
Alright, good.
Better listen back.
He said Tom Hurd.
Hey, the Herds have been turning up in the...
He's actually been playing alright.
Yeah, you're right. They actually turned up to the game. You're right. they drove in together and turned up.
Mate, the way that we're going, they're getting closer and closer to a call-up, surely.
Jesus, you're not half wrong there, and that's what scares me the most.
And in the pre-season, there was some sort of bet thrown around if
Hurd played a game.
Tom
what was
Hurd
it?
gets a
You
game.
put something
Who
out there.
cares? I don't think I did make a bet, but
Wasn't it like
make anything up. I don't care.
streak naked around the MCG.
Yeah, make anything up. It's not playing.
Boys, the footy tips. The most important part of the conversation.
All right, just before you do the totals, I just want you to know I picked an underdog last week and it got up. I want a bit of praise for that.
Who did you pick?
I picked Brisbane over Sydney.
How was it an underdog?
Well, they went into the game underdog.
That was a good pick.
It was
That was
in-
They were pretty much on par.
No, they were underdog. Don't sell me short.
No, I'll give you that
You
one.
picked the second on the ladder to win. Okay,
Mate,
the real underdog.
You pick whoever's playing kangaroos each week.
Yeah, exactly. Don't. Ever since then, haven't lost any money.
Freo over
How about I
Geelong.
start picking the number one, the Melbourne every week?
Freo over Geelong, that was a gross... I can't even remember what my tip was. Maybe Collingwood.
I know Russ was Carlton over the Kangaroos.
Yep, got that one up.
Did you watch that Port Saints game?
Nah.
That was you called that. You were like Port, you tipped it. I think you were the
Yeah.
only one to tip it as well. That was the most disgusting game of football I think I've ever watched.
I know
And
my
if we
disgusting
get
football.
if Cairns is gonna host the game and if the Saints want to sell them a home game, it cannot be during fucking rainy season.
Or night time.
That was just shit football. That was like watching an under-10s game. It was so messy and so gross. And I think the Saints ended up kicking like 4 goals, 19. And in the end, there was like, it was decided by 5 points. Like 3 points up, 2 points up, 2 points were kicked. And then like Robbie Gray kicks a winning behind that celebrated. Just gross football.
Oh, well, you'll be happy to know, lads, I'm not picking North Melbourne to get beaten this week.
You think they're going to beat Freo?
I'm not picking Freo.
I think Kangas have a shot if Freo have 6 players out, which they do.
So
If they have a couple extra.
Like I said, you called that I was going to.
Well, you can't tip Brisbane for
Um,
your lock of the week. Playing.
Well, you've got that one already, have you?
No. Playing West Coast with bloody 14.
All right, so I'm not going to pick.
They're paying $1.
I'm not going to.
$1 to $15.
It's
17,
footy
okay.
tipping for the lock of the week, but then you put on parameters. I'm not allowed to pick Brisbane. I'm not allowed to pick the people that
We
play
want
North
it to be
Melbourne.
a little bit
Yeah,
interesting.
you got to be a little bit like, oh, good call. Not just
Yeah,
like obvious
exactly.
call. of
Yeah,
the
well,
week.
when you tax me $20 when I'm wrong.
Yeah, but you're going to end up spending that $20 on a few CCs and grand final day.
I don't drink.
You will by then.
You're right.
After this year, especially.
All right, Sydney. I'll take Sydney.
Sydney over the Gold Coast in Sydney. They're paying shorter than $1.50.
Yeah, well, take it or leave it.
You've been
Well,
tipping.
let's
You've been pretty
get,
hot.
let's,
You've been
let's
pretty
get a
hot on the-
third game I'm not allowed to tip.
They're very strong favourites.
All right, Melbourne over St Kilda. I'll take it.
I think that'll actually be a good test for the Saints. I'll take Carlton over Adelaide only because it's in Melbourne. I could actually see that going the other way, if I'm honest.
All right, I was thinking of going that one, but let's switch it up.
GWS
can't-
over Geelong and
can't-
you fucking love the
Thinking
Giants.
about it, yeah.
If your tipping had been right, the Giants would be sitting second or third on the ladder. You've tipped them like every week.
I have faith. I'll go Richmond over Collingwood.
With Dusty Martin back in town.
Yeah.
Lovely. Should we check the scores?
Overall tips? Sure. I climbed 1, I'm pretty sure.
I had a stinker last week.
You've had a stinker the last couple of weeks, my man.
What do you mean? I had 7 and 8 the week before.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you have climbed up a little bit. You're now sitting in... Oh, we're tied. Bloody hell. You have climbed.
Who?
You're
Yep.
sitting in 8th. I'm sitting in 7th, but we're tied on 40 each.
Which means I got more right than you last week.
Shout out to Dean Mitzi, who came in, joined the comp late, was sitting in 3rd place when he joined, has had an absolute stinker, and now sitting in 11th.
Good.
And
Mitzi, if you're listening, good.
Lockie's come up to 13th with a big 7 in a round where most people were getting 5s. So you picked up 2 on Brody there.
Yep.
To
I'm
try
just
to
got to get
back.
close to the top. Doesn't matter about the midfield.
Brody Harrison still sitting in 1st, and I want to talk about Julia Hawkins. So Julia's obviously a friend of ours from the gym, notorious for not putting her footy tips in until halfway through a Saturday. But we've got a default setting that you get the away tip, which we're going to have to revoke next year.
Our work league has you get the bottom score.
You should get zero. You should get zero for the game if you don't put your tip in. So we'll be changing that because I think she got Richmond to beat West Coast.
3 from 3 from the game. She didn't tip. She didn't put a tip in. 3 from 3.
And she's sitting in third. So Julia, we're under your strategy there.
It needs to be some sort of inquest, just like the Bombers Football Club.
That's right. And Kat walking around with the chest out around the house because she's sitting in 5th, 1 tip ahead. But she tipped Essendon against the Bulldogs.
Rookie.
I realised
one back, did you?
I realised when I got home, I was looking at tips on Sunday. I was like, "The fuck did I tip Essendon for?"
You cocked up your Port Adelaide tip by coughing up a real easy one, boys. Thank you very much. The can's almost empty, which means we must have been here for sitting around almost an hour. It's nice to do a few in studio. In fact, the conversation a little bit easier, flows a little bit more. It's nice to hang out.
Yeah.
You're walking now?
Huh?
You're walking now?
I'm on the crutches.
Are you crutching around?
Short distances. So
It's nice not to get interrupted by Russ and just have to wait for a few minutes.
you trade that for Matea.
Say something interesting, I won't have to interrupt you. So what's that signs?
Saturday night.
What are we doing?
Yeah?
Yeah, what are we doing?
I don't know. Go live. You're going to put on a cob loaf or...
I thought we were having dinner.
Yeah, we're going to dinner.
Cob
Christmas
loaf's
dinner. You coming?
I'm not sure if I'm going to go to the game or not.
Alright. Let us know.
Cool.
Until next time.
Thanks, guys.
Go Bombers.
Go Bombers.
Lockie's not going Bombers. He's over him.
Oh, yeah.